time now for the markets with Leighton, and the catfish business has been termed an industry of decline this year.
It has, Artis, and we'll update that situation in a minute and find out if it's looking any better for fish farmers. Also ahead this week, analysts say the chicken industry may have a banner year. The corn market is reportedly in a downtrend, and higher timber prices are coming, according to one consulting firm. A Wall Street analyst has proclaimed that 2013 could be one of the best years on record for the chicken industry in Mississippi and other states. In a research report, Heather Jones with BB&T Capital Markets notes that feed costs continue to decline, demand for the product has accelerated, and grain production is set to swell. Now, of particular importance, Jones says, is the fact that Mexico has been impacted by avian flu to the point that U.S. producers will be exporting more hatching and breeder eggs to that country. Also, she notes that chicken breast meat is increasing in popularity, and prices for that cut are up 20% compared to only a year ago. An analysis of the catfish market is not as upbeat as that forecast for chicken. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley answered some questions about aquaculture on Thursday morning. Let's talk about water acres first, John Michael. Where are we now as opposed to where we were a year or two ago?
Well, we're continuing to decline in terms of the number of acres out there across the United States and Mississippi as well. Mississippi, 48,600 acres as of January 1st, 2013. That's a 5.1% decline. Nationally, 83,000 acres. That's a 7.1% decline. So obviously, other states in the nation are declining at a faster rate than Mississippi for this past year. But and that helped to keep Mississippi's stranglehold in terms of the percentage of the total. 58% of Mississippi, or 58% of the nation is accounted for in this state. We've always been the big fish in the catfish arena, but that started to decline over a number of years, and we've seen just in 2010, 2011, 12, Mississippi has taken back more and more of those total acres.
All right, I know last time we talked, especially frozen supplies are still plentiful. Is that still the case, or is that dwindling some, the supply of catfish? Well,
they've made a big attempt to get rid of some of that. Obviously, lower prices at the retail level, at the restaurant level, has helped to get rid of some of that inventory. But it is still an issue where there is a lot of supply out there. Even though water acres have been declining, it seems like in the economy that we're in, fish for some people doesn't have a brand. It doesn't have a specific species. So as catfish prices rose, supplies built, and since then they've tried to tone that down a little bit, but we're still working off a pretty high supply frozen wise.
So pond bank prices, the prices for producers haven't really changed much at all since we last talked.
They have not. They tanked pretty hard from January to August, September of 12. They've steadied out. Past couple of weeks we have seen about a nickel increase, but nothing major. That was at the same time that feed prices were really ramping up.
And I guess the most positive thing, feed prices now are kind of going the other direction.
That's right. Feed prices down 14% since August of a year ago. So that's really helped to ease some of the pain, if you will, for our producers.
Turning to beef, the Beef Checkoff is now launching a campaign that is a combination of the familiar and the unfamiliar. The tagline is a familiar one: beef, it's what's for dinner, and so is the music of composer Aaron Copland. The unfamiliar will be the voice of actor Garrett Hedlund, who replaces Matthew McConaughey. The campaign is named Above All Else. It is aiming to reach the next generation of beef eaters, the older millennial and Gen Xer. That's the age bracket 25 to 44. The emphasis, according to marketers, will be on the taste and nutrition factors of beef. Our trivia quiz this week deals with the row crop peanuts. And here is the quiz question: how did last year's planted acreage of peanuts in Mississippi stack up as far as history goes? Is the answer A, it set a new record, or B, it was the second highest, or C, it tied for third highest, or D, the acreage was the fifth highest on record? You'll find out the answer before our feature story. The real driver in the corn market as we begin the month of May could well be the ethanol industry, according to many analysts. But on the other end of the spectrum, it could be export business. Trader Tom Fitzenmeyer says exports are, and in his opinion, will continue to be terrible. He is convinced that corn is now in a downtrend.
The basis has been continually strong. The basis has been a fooler for people. We've watched that all winter long thinking, well, the basis is high. They're not buying corn. There must not be any. And that's deceived people. If you step back 20 feet from a corn chart and look at it, we've been in a downtrend in that since September. A major downtrend, and I don't see anything that's happening that's gonna stop that. We've got a big crop probably coming on in the fall. Everybody looks ahead and sees that. The funds have bailed out of all these commodities. They have no interest in owning them, and they're big part of the reason why we went up. As long as they're bailing out, the equity markets are strong. They're looking at it and say, well, why do I only want to own commodities? Look at what gold did. Another example.
Well, we close out the markets with timber. A National Forest Management firm said this week that timber prices for large standing trees are rising off the bottom. Marshall Thomas of F&W Forestry Services in Albany, Georgia, says stumpage prices were mostly up in the southern pine belt and elsewhere during the first quarter of this year, 2013. He notes that southern pine lumber prices jumped 36% in the first quarter compared with last year's average. He concludes that that is a sure sign of increasing lumber demand. Now, Thomas admits that while the increase in prices growers are now receiving for trees are not as dramatic as the jump in lumber prices, higher prices for stumpage for standing trees are likely coming. Well, before our feature story on Farm Week, let's stop by trivia for this week's answer, and it is C. That is correct. Last year's Mississippi peanut acreage of 52,000 tied for third place in the record books.